41 Action News inside the courtroom for opening statements as two families seek justice and the community looks for answers in the deaths of two young women.
After he killed Jessica, he went back to this spot, his spot. You stumped Jessica's body in the same woods that he said he threw Kara all those years before.
Kylr Yust is innocent. This is a long and complicated story that spans more than a decade. And when you don't have all of the facts, you can come to the wrong conclusions.
No doubt today marks the start of a trial that's been more than a decade in the making.
It surrounds the deaths of two young women killed nearly 10 years apart, and the man prosecutors say is responsible. Kylr Yust is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and the deaths of Kara Kopetsky and Jessica Runyons. The women went missing in 2007 and 2016, respectively. Their remains were discovered near each other in the woods near Belton in 2017. Yust was charged with their murders after their remains were identified. These are pictures of him from inside the courtroom at the Cass County Courthouse today as the trial gets underway. Opening statements this afternoon in the much-anticipated trial.
Let's get right to 41 Action News anchor Caitlin Canute, who was in the courtroom for those words from the prosecution and the defense. Caitlin, what did they have to say about this case?
Well, Kevin and Dia, today the state started talking about the two women at the center of this case, Kara Kopetsky and Jessica Runyons, bringing up that Kara Kopetsky was the ex-girlfriend of Kylr Yust, talking about the fact that she had filed an order of protection just days before she went missing. Then they talked a little about Jessica Runyons. 9 years later, she disappeared after leaving a party allegedly with Kylr Yust. So they set the stage. He was connected to these two women. Their bodies were found together. They painted him as a jealous ex who simply snapped and then bragged about it. They mentioned that he had confessed to multiple people over the years. The defense, on the other hand, suggested that not only was he making these confessions in an attempt to brag, that he was lying about his involvement in the case because he liked the media attention. They suggested that there was other information that went unexplored. There were other leads police didn't follow because they were zeroed in on Kylr Yust and only Kylr Yust. But again, back into those defensions, those alleged confessions, there was one thing the state mentioned today tied to his neck tattoo that was rather chilling. Take a listen.
Yust also said that his neck tattoo symbolizes his hands around Kara's throat.
So at the time, Kylr was in a death metal band called the Seraphim, and he was a tattoo artist. And there's a certain segment of people out there who think this stuff is cool.
So again, that's what I was talking about. You heard the defense there suggesting that he was bragging, that he didn't really mean these things. And so they already started laying the groundwork that they're going to try to poke holes not only in all these alleged confessions, but also in some of the evidence that was collected and some of the things that they say was not collected. A really interesting case, and we are expecting the first witnesses to be called tomorrow, Kevin and Dia.
You know, Caitlin, immediately I noticed that Kylr Yust had on a suit and tie, which is not what we've normally seen over the years or weeks even leading up to the trial. What was his demeanor like?
Well, Kevin, he was very serious. As you mentioned, he came in the suit and tie, charcoal gray, tie buttoned up so that neck tattoo, you barely even saw it. His hair, very clean cut. I mean, honestly, he looked as though he could have been an intern in the courtroom. Very, very different than the kind of punk rocker we saw early on in that investigation so many years ago. But his demeanor, very serious. He was taking notes. He was talking to his attorneys. He was conferring with them, nodding quite a bit. Never once, though, did he look at the families, nor did he seem to look at the jurors during the course of those opening statements today.
Anchor Caitlin Canute, thanks for that update.
While only one trial is being held, it does involve 2 separate cases for the deaths of those 2 young women. We asked an attorney not affiliated with this case whether it's possible for Yust to be found guilty of one murder charge but not the other.
It's an interesting case because the evidence on the older case, the Kopetsky count, in some ways is stronger than the other one. Even though it's a lot older, apparently there are several people that Mr. Yust has made admissions to over the years about what he did to her, the fact that he choked her out, that he took her lifeless body to the woods, statements like that, that aren't nearly as prevalent in the other case.
We want to keep you informed and up to date on this trial as it gets underway. Just go to kshb.com/Kylr Yust for daily updates and the timeline of events on how we got to this point.